as you near the match process, you start to realize you are just a number in a pool of thousands of applicants. When I found MatchPal, I was like, okay, this is the only one I found where you're working with residents that are currently in residency.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give that you wish you heard when you were in MS3?
My biggest advice is,
Hey everyone, it's Dan from MatchPal. Today we're going to be talking with one of our clients who got 40 interviews for residency as an IMG. She's going to tell you a little bit about what her perceived weaknesses of her application were, why she pursued advising in the first place, what kind of feedback she's been getting this cycle, and why residency advising has been the most valuable investment she's ever made. Hope you enjoy. All right, guys, I'm really excited to chat with one of our amazing students here today, Hila, who's going to just kind of tell us a little bit more about her journey and share, her experience working with us. So, Hila, why don't you start by telling us where you're at in med school and what made you choose family medicine?
okay, hey, thanks for having me here today. So I'm a fourth year medical student from St. George's University. It's an international medical school in the Caribbean. And I chose family medicine because I didn't have a specific specialty that I liked. Kind of like being able to treat a child and then an elderly patient. And one moment you're doing labor and delivery, and the next you're in the clinic. So I really love the variety and I really love the continuity. Building that long-term patient relationship, it's what brought me to medicine.
I love that. Okay. And then, going through your journey within medical school, you decided on family medicine. You're like, this fits the bill. This checks all the boxes of the things that I want to do in my career. Where did you go to then kind of think about how to achieve that goal? Especially obviously, coming from an international school, applying to residency in the US, like what resources did you have available and to you at your school or otherwise that you were kind of leveraging?
Yeah. So honestly, so many people were telling me, oh, you're applying to family medicine. It'll be fine. It's easy. Like that's everyone's backup specialty. And I felt like on the other hand, I was very picky with where I was applying and where I wanted to end up. I'm from New York. I don't want to leave New York, specifically Long Island. So it's a pretty competitive place. And I remember my school basically saying, you need to apply to 100 programs. You need to apply broadly. There are tons of IMGs being funneled out of the Caribbean or all over the world. And, you need to get yourself to stand out. So you have to do really well on all your exams. There was a lot of that extra pressure with everything that I was doing.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there is a lot of pressure because, you may not be going for the most competitive specialty, but you are, very geographically limited, which in and of itself, just being limited anywhere in the country makes things harder for any specialty. And then furthermore, you're also going for like a really competitive area, right? Like, New York City, West Coast, like big cities in West Coast, like LA, San Francisco, like these are places that are very highly desirable and there's not an unlimited amount of spots. So definitely makes sense. So then where, I guess like, at what point did you start considering like, I guess working with MatchPal or like, getting outside help from like outside of the school and like tell us a little bit about that decision.
Yeah. So my school actually offers this mentorship. They assign you to an advisor, assign you to a mentor, and you talk about like the whole residency process with them. And then they also have this app where you can do mock interviews. And I felt like, first of all, the mentor that I was assigned to was an OBGYN. He wasn't in the same specialty I was applying to. So he was very much thinking in the eyes of OB-GYN. And right now, that's a totally different platform. And also, he was probably like 20, 30 years out of what it is to apply to residency. So everything that he was saying and everything that I was saying just wasn't really aligning. He wasn't really understanding. And on top of that, the mock interviews, they were great, but they weren't tailored to me specifically, and they weren't tailored to the specialty I was applying to. So I really felt like my school tried to do a good job by giving us the support we needed, but it wasn't enough. And definitely wasn't enough to help me stand out. So I knew I had to find something outside of my school, any sort of mentorship program. And a lot of the programs I was looking into, I felt like majority of the people working there were so far outside residency and applying to residency. And when I found MatchPal, I was like, okay, this is the only one I found where you're working with residents that are currently in residency that have just done this themselves. That there's no better opportunity than to work with someone who has just been in your shoes. So that's how it all started.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's like kind of the strengths of the program is like having people who are, residents that really just went through it themselves and also have the perspective of not only working with clients through the platform, but also see students day to day. They work with sub interns, they are on their programs, admissions committees, like they understand the process arguably better than anyone else. So that's awesome. So okay, you came to us, you were working with us as like a longitudinal advising client. Like what happened after you signed up? Walk us through that.
So basically, I had a 15, 20-minute phone call as like an intake phone call where I felt like everything was being tailored and personalized to my needs. So what I was looking for, what area I wanted to stay in, the specialty, everything. And then I got an email and I was matched with an advisor. And you guys honestly couldn't have done a better job. I was matched with Dr. Foss, and she is at the program that I was interested in, which is a reach program for an IMG. She is in the geographic location. She has applied to every single one of the programs that I was applying to in the same specialty. So it couldn't have been a better fit. And yeah.
That's awesome. And then what did you guys work on like over the course? I think you signed up back in, June or May. So walk me through all the things that you worked on between then and now being November.
So at first it was a lot of brainstorming. My schedule was very tight, so I only had 3 weeks of dedicated for step two, and ERAS was coming up, so I really kind of was limited. So we worked a lot on just brainstorming, application stuff, personal statement stuff. I felt so nervous going into my personal statement. I just felt like, how do I showcase myself in one page and sell it properly and write it well? And it was just like a lot of fear. And what story do I choose? So I felt like she really helped me organize my thoughts there and tie everything together. We also worked on my actual ERAS experiences. How can I showcase my experience in the best way possible to really show that I'm a good fit for family medicine? So basically, it was a lot of that stuff that we worked on. And truthfully, I am getting so much good feedback regarding my application because of that. I felt like if I had done it alone, it would have just been so disorganized. I had no idea what I was going into. It's my first time doing this. So I'm really happy that I had someone who's done this before to also show me her mistakes and like the good things that she did and certain feedback that now she sees because she talks to leadership at these programs and she knows what they're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think especially for a specialty like family medicine, the personal statement, like the story, the why is one of the most critical factors that the program directors cite that they use to select people for an interview. And, I think that, acing that part of the application is arguably more important for specialties that value personal statements like family medicine than having tons of research or crazy high board scores, right? Like they really want to know that you're committed and your why is aligned with the philosophy of the subspecialty, right? And so I think you ended up doing a pretty good job, right? So like, you ended up kind of submitting that application after working with Dr. Foss, and like, where are we at now?
I was really, really nervous. And it was the first day after applications open. I'm like, okay, I didn't get anything yet. Didn't get anything yet. I was like, I'll be thrilled if I get 10 interviews. Like, I feel like that is a safe, sweet spot for IMGs, they say. I ended up getting 40 interviews, and it's only November 7th.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah.
remarkable. That's got to be a record somewhere.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's unheard of for sure. Especially in first wave of invites for family medicine. Usually they send to USMDs, USDOs. IMGs are usually not in the mix. To be fair, I am a US citizen, so that definitely helps with some of the programs that aren't sponsoring visas. But still, like as an international medical graduate, usually you'll get like end of first wave, second wave. And I got all the programs that I signaled have sent me interviews. I'm starting to withdraw and decline from interviews, which really puts me in a spot which boosts my confidence. Like going into these interviews now, I feel like, okay, I'm not like begging or desperate for a spot. Like they're interested in me and they like what I'm showcasing here. And I'm very much worthy of this position like anyone else.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I guess like going into interviews, like I know you work with Dr. Foss on actually practicing how to answer the questions. So why don't you before we get into like your experience with the mock interview itself, tell us a little bit about some of the feedback you've gotten from the interviews that you've been on so far.
Wow. So I've been in 8 or 9 interviews so far. And I had one faculty member tell me that in this season, this was the best personal statement he's read, and that it is the most memorable one for sure. My jaw dropped, and 4 other program directors commented on my personal statement saying that it was so well written and they loved reading it and it was so interesting. And that was like the catapult to really that ball moving of us having a conversation and it not feeling so formal and so rigid. And I think that's what they're really looking for in interviews. They want to get to know you as a person. They want to see if you're personable, if, you're going to fit well with the program, connect well with the faculty and the residents. So it was a really good way to kind of like start the interviews. And regarding the mock interviews, I was so nervous going into them at first. And I told Dr. Frost, I was like, I feel like I'm so awkward. What do I do? And she really, even just having her to be able to text whenever I need or a thought came up or something new, she was so reassuring and she gives really, really good advice. And, I really couldn't have done it without her, honestly, without all of you guys.
I love that. I love to hear that. What's like, what's one thing if there was someone who's maybe a third year med student right now and they're listening to this and they're kind of like, yeah, like, this is like all great, but I don't know, really know if I need this. Like maybe like I have like a, decent grades, or maybe like I feel confident in writing. Like, what's one thing that you tell them to consider as far as like if they're on the fence and unsure if like working with an advisor would benefit them?
So I'll be honest with you, the third year medical student you described was me. Like, third year, I was doing really well on my shelf exams. I was getting good grades. I was like, okay, I'll be fine. And to be honest with you, as you near the match process, you start to realize you are just a number. You are just another person in a pool of thousands of applicants, and you need to figure out a way to stand out. And you get so clouded by that fact that you're just blinded by what you're seeing, and you really do need to see something from another set of eyes. And my biggest advice is let another pair of eyes see what you're showcasing, because we could be so blinded to so many things, especially when it's our first time doing this. And also be weary of what those pair of eyes, like who they are, because, you can get an advisor that's been out of the business for like 30 years. What do they know? So if you really want this to work and have an advisor that's really going to make an impact and make a difference, have somebody who is currently in the field that you're going into.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, even from when I applied to residency to now, the process has already changed drastically. And that's only been like, what, 4 years? So every single year there's an update or a change, and that impacts either some or all of the specialties. So I think like you're so right. Getting like near peer advice is so important. Now, whether it's through a platform like ours, like MatchPal, or whether that's through, a really great friend that you have who's like a couple of years ahead of you in the same specialty, or people from alumni, or any people that you encounter through OA rotations. Like, it doesn't really, it doesn't matter where you get it, but the bottom line is that a lot of people, they don't have access to those near peer mentors, people that they trust. And I think the other thing, which I think you hinted on earlier, maybe if you want to expand on it, you can, is someone who's really committed to you for the entirety of the process, right? I think it's very easy to find someone who's just going to like get on a call with you and answer a couple of questions. I think any med student can probably find one person or two people to get on a call with them, or maybe take a glance at a statement, but to like really sit with you for multiple hours, multiple rounds of edits throughout the whole process and help you with all of these like key milestones. I think that's very hard. It's a very big ask. And most people, I don't know anyone that would really just actually do that for people, right? And I think that's where we come in and provide that. But yeah, I mean,
think the people that you hire also, they truly care. They truly want to help, and they truly want to see you succeed. And, Dr. Foss was on nights, and I'd be texting her, and it's like 4 a.m. and she's answering me, 6 a.m. and she's answering me, and she's giving me really solid advice. So it's like around the clock, they're really available to you.
Absolutely. No, I think this is all like really great. Yeah. We do bring on people that are, nobody comes to work as an advisor if they're not really passionate about like training up the next generation of people. And I think the other thing that stands out from our team is like, especially coming, we serve like predominantly like students that don't have the infrastructure at their school. Like we really do tend to serve more like the osteopathic medical students, IMGs, like students that don't have really robust mentorship or access to these things that maybe students at bigger, more established schools, MD schools have, right? And I think that's the other part of it is, if it's not available to you with just as part of your school, it doesn't mean that you should have a worse outcome, right? Like you can change that by seeking the appropriate guidance. And I think that's really what we're all about.
Really. And also, I just wanted to say that during third and fourth year, when my school sets us up with rotations, they give you a geographic preference. It doesn't always match what you want. So I could have been doing third year in a different state where I'm not applying to, and I'm not building those connections and networking, which is extremely, extremely important during third and fourth year. You need to get letters, you need to, meet people in the field. So where I was placed during third year, they did not have a family medicine program.
Mm.
I had to do family medicine outside in a place where they don't even have a residency program. So I was not really exposed to a family medicine residency program or had a sub-I or an addition like majority of the other students. So my school also only gives us 8 weeks of out-of-network rotations, and I had to really fight and find 8 weeks to do elsewhere in the area that I want to stay in a program that I want to go to. And it limits you. It limits you as opposed to US students who their schools are affiliated with certain hospitals where they have those programs, and they can apply there for residency and make those connections early on. So I think it's really important, especially as an IMG, to get the advising that you need, because we're already at a little bit of a disadvantage.
Absolutely. If you had to give one closing thought or piece of advice to, your past MS3 self, now seeing the results, 40 interviews, all of your signals, basically every program that you wanted to even consider you is basically, expressing a lot of interest and a lot of positive feedback when you're going on these interview days. What's one piece of advice that you'd give that you wish you heard when you were in MS3?
You don't have to do it all. Like, lean on other people for the support that you need, because I remember feeling so overwhelmed and feeling so isolated in this process. And I feel like if you just reach out and find that community that's there to help you, it'll make things so much easier and it'll make things flow so much better.
Love that. Hila, thank you so much for joining us today and telling us about your journey. We can't wait to see where you end up.
Thanks.